You think beach towns are paying you $50,000 to move there? They are, and the deadline is June, which means you have about 4 months to decide if getting paid to relocate to coastal living sounds better than whatever you're doing now. These are not scams. These are real incentive programs from actual towns trying to solve population decline by literally bribing remote workers and new residents with cash. The catch is always there. Maybe the town is rebuilding from economic collapse. Maybe the weather is hostile enough to make you question your choices. Or maybe the beach comes with isolation so complete you will remember what silence sounds like. Subscribe right now because remote work changed everything. And knowing which beach towns are desperate enough to pay you to move there might be the most practical information you get this year. These are real programs with real money and actual beaches. Let us break down which coastal towns are offering $50,000 to relocate and what you are really signing up for. Tulsa Remote expanded to include gathering place access near the Arkansas River, which is not ocean but provides water access while paying you $10,000. The program targets remote workers willing to relocate to Tulsa for at least a year. You get the cash, workspace access, networking events, and a built-in community of other transplants figuring out Oklahoma together. The Arkansas River Trails offer recreational water access, and while this is not beach living, the money is real, and the cost of living in Tulsa is low enough that $10,000 goes further than it would on either coast. Savannah, Georgia has programs through the Savannah Economic Development Authority offering incentives up to $20,000 for specific industries and remote workers. Savannah sits near Tybee Island with Atlantic Beach access 20 minutes away. The historic district is stunning, the culture is rich, and the humidity is aggressive enough to be a full-time relationship. You get incentives, actual beach proximity, and southern coastal living where the cost of living is manageable, and the architecture makes you understand why people romanticize the South. Northwest Arkansas is offering $10,000 through LifeWorks Here for remote workers and new residents, with additional benefits and relocation support. This puts you near Beaver Lake with extensive water access and outdoor recreation. You are not on the coast, but the incentive money is real, the area is growing, and the cost of living is low enough that the $10,000 feels like $20,000 in higher cost markets. The catch is, you are in Arkansas, where coastal access requires serious driving, but water recreation exists, and the program actively supports newcomers. Topeka, Kansas offers Choose Topeka with up to $15,000 for people who relocate and work remotely or for participating employers. This is not beach territory by any definition, but the program structure is one of the most generous and the cost of living is low enough that your money stretches significantly. And you're trading beach access for financial incentives in a place where housing costs are so low that the $15,000 can cover a down payment on a house outright. Shoals, Alabama offers remote workers up to $10,000 through the Remote Shoals program to relocate to the Tennessee River area. The river provides water access with recreational opportunities, and while this is not coastal, the program supports remote workers with co-working space, community events, and cash incentives. The cost of living is roughly 30% below the national average, which means your income goes further while you are being paid to be there. West Virginia offers Ascend WV with $12,000 plus outdoor recreation perks for remote workers willing to relocate to Morgantown or Lewisburg. You get cash, community support, and access to outdoor recreation including rivers and lakes. This is not beach living, but the program is well structured with monthly payments over 2 years, built-in community, and genuine support for people making the transition to rural living while working remotely. Rochester, New York offers up to $10,000 through Greater Yossi Remote for remote workers relocating to the area. You get Lake Ontario access with beaches that are legitimate freshwater coastline. The Great Lakes offer real beach experiences with sand, waves, and water that stretches to the horizon. The winters are brutal enough to make you reconsider life choices, but the program provides cash, the cost of living is reasonable, and lake access gives you summer beach living while being paid to relocate. Bemidji, Minnesota offers the Lake Effect program with $15,000 for remote workers relocating to the area. You get access to lakes everywhere, which defines Minnesota identity. This is not ocean coastal, but water is omnipresent with beaches on multiple lakes and outdoor recreation that borders on obsessive. The winters are legendary for cold that makes polar vortex sound like a pleasant breeze, but the program money is substantial and the summer lake culture is genuine. Natchez, Mississippi offers relocation incentives up to $6,000 with additional benefits for remote workers and entrepreneurs. You get Mississippi River access with the Gulf Coast within reasonable driving distance. The town is historic with antebellum architecture, and the cost of living is low enough that $6,000 feels more significant than it sounds. The culture is deep south with all the complexity that implies, but the incentive exists and beach access to the Gulf is a few hours away. Hamilton, Ohio offers up to $15,000 through Hamilton 100 for remote workers and entrepreneurs willing to relocate. This puts you near the Great Miami River with Cincinnati proximity and water recreation access. You are not on a coast, but the program is generous, the cost of living is low, and the incentives include cash, perks, and community support designed to help newcomers integrate quickly. Marquette, Michigan offers relocation support and incentives for remote workers moving to the Upper Peninsula with access to Lake Superior beaches. The lake is so large it functions like an inland sea with beaches, waves, and coastal culture. The winters are severe enough to require genuine survival skills, but summer on Lake Superior is spectacular with clear water, rocky beaches, and natural beauty that rivals ocean coastlines. The programs vary but include financial incentives, housing support, and community integration help. So here is the actual situation with these programs. The money is real, but the requirements are specific. Most programs require you to be a full-time remote worker with income from outside the local economy. They want you to bring money into the town, not compete for local jobs. You typically need to relocate within a specific time frame and commit to living there for at least a year. Some programs pay up front. Others distribute payments over time to ensure you actually stay. The towns offering these incentives are usually experiencing population decline, economic transition, or are trying to attract younger remote workers to revitalize aging demographics. The beach access varies dramatically. Some of these programs put you near actual ocean coastlines. Others offer lake or river access that provides water recreation but not traditional beach experiences. The distinction matters if you are specifically chasing ocean living versus just wanting water nearby. Great Lakes beaches are legitimate coastal experiences with sand, waves, and horizons that disappear into water. River access is different, more about fishing and kayaking than beach culture. The deadlines matter. Many programs have application windows, and if the title says move by June, that means you need to apply now and plan to relocate within months. These programs are not passive. They require documentation proving remote employment, applications with essays or interviews, and commitment to community engagement. The towns are not just handing out cash. They are investing in people they believe will contribute to local economies and stick around beyond the minimum requirement. One person who relocated through Tulsa Remote said the $10,000 covered moving costs and first month's rent, but the real value was the community of other remote workers. They found friends, business connections, and support systems that made relocation less isolating. The money was the incentive. The community was what made them stay. They visit Arkansas River trails regularly, have lower living costs than their previous city, and feel like the program delivered on promises. Another person who moved to Rochester for the remote worker program said Lake Ontario beach access in summer is genuinely great, and the cash incentive helped offset moving expenses. But the winter hit harder than expected, requiring significant investment in winter gear and mental preparation for months of gray skies and lake-effect snow. They stayed because the cost of living savings accumulated faster than expected, and summer beach access made winter suffering feel worthwhile. The program support helped them find community, which mattered more than the cash after the first year. The practical calculation is whether the incentive money plus lower cost of living in these areas exceeds what you are currently spending. If you are paying $3,000 monthly for rent in a high-cost city and can relocate to a place offering $10,000 up front where rent is $800 monthly, the math works overwhelmingly in your favor. You pocket the incentive, save $2,000 monthly on housing, and potentially improve quality of life if you value space and nature over urban density. The lifestyle trade-offs are significant. Most of these programs are in smaller cities or towns where entertainment, dining, and cultural options are limited compared to major metros. You are trading urban convenience for financial incentives and lower costs. If you need constant stimulation, diverse dining, and endless activities, small-town life will feel restrictive. If you value outdoor access, lower stress, and financial breathing room, these programs offer genuine opportunities. The beach access reality is that ocean coastlines with these programs are rare. Most incentive programs are in areas experiencing population decline, which tends to happen inland or in regions with challenging weather. Great Lakes programs offer the closest thing to ocean beach experiences. River and lake access programs provide water recreation, but different aesthetics. If you are absolutely committed to ocean living, your options narrow significantly. If you are flexible about what water access means, options expand. One couple relocated to Marquette for Lake Superior access and said the beach culture in summer is real with clear water, rocky shorelines, and natural beauty that rivals anywhere they have traveled. The winter is 6 months of snow and cold that requires genuine adaptation. They cross-country ski, snowshoe, and embraced winter sports because fighting the climate is futile. The town supported their relocation with housing help and community connections. They feel like the trade-off of severe winters for spectacular summers and financial stability was worth it. The application processes are competitive for some programs. Popular ones like Tulsa Remote receive thousands of applications for limited spots. You need to present yourself as someone who will contribute to the community, integrate socially, and stick around beyond the minimum requirement. Generic applications get rejected. You need to demonstrate genuine interest in the specific location and articulate why you are a good fit for what the town is trying to build. The tax implications matter. The incentive money is usually taxable income, which means you will owe federal taxes on it and possibly state taxes depending on where you relocate. A $10,000 incentive might be $7,000 after taxes. This does not make the programs bad deals, but you need to budget accurately and not assume the full amount is spendable cash. The community integration expectations are real. These programs want you to participate locally, attend events, support businesses, and become part of the town rather than just taking money and isolating. Some programs have mandatory meetups or community service components. If you are relocating to work remotely and ignore everything local, you are missing the point and potentially violating program terms. The housing markets in these towns are generally affordable, which is part of why they are offering incentives. Your income from a higher-cost market stretches further in places where median home prices are under $200,000. Some people use incentive money as down payments on houses, which builds equity while living somewhere cheap. This strategy works if you commit to staying long enough for the investment to appreciate, but it requires confidence the town will stabilize or grow. The risk is relocating to a place that does not fit your needs despite the financial incentive. Money does not fix incompatibility with climate, culture, or lifestyle. If you hate cold and move to Minnesota for $15,000, you will be miserable and wealthy enough to move again, but poorer for the experience. The programs work best for people genuinely open to the location and attracted by both the incentive and the lifestyle change. One person who relocated to Natchez said the $6,000 was smaller than other programs, but the Mississippi River access and proximity to Gulf Coast beaches made the location appealing beyond just the cash. They are 3 hours from Gulf beaches, have river access locally, and pay so little for housing that the $6,000 felt like $20,000 in their previous market. They adapted to the slower pace, embraced the historic culture, and feel like the move improved their life beyond financial metrics. The remote work requirement is non-negotiable for most programs. You need to prove income from employment outside the local economy. Freelancers, remote employees, and business owners qualify if they meet income thresholds. People seeking local employment do not qualify because the programs aim to inject outside money into local economies, not redistribute existing resources. The deadline pressure is real. If programs say, move by June, you have limited time to apply, get accepted, arrange relocation, and physically move. This is not a passive someday plan. This is an immediate decision requiring quick action. Some people thrive under that pressure. Others need more time to deliberate and miss the window. Be brutally honest with yourself. Would you relocate to a town you have never visited for cash and beach proximity? Would you commit to a year minimum in a place that might not fit your lifestyle? Would you trade urban convenience for financial incentives and water access? These programs offer real money and real opportunities, but they require real commitment to places that are offering incentives specifically because they are struggling to attract residents without bribes. The beach might be beautiful, the town might be charming, but the reason they are paying you to move there is because not enough people are choosing to move there without financial motivation. That reality does not make the programs bad. It makes them honest transactions where towns invest in people willing to take a chance on places others are overlooking. Drop in the comments which program sounds most appealing and whether you would actually apply, because knowing about incentives and acting on them are completely different levels of commitment. Like this video if you realized beach towns are literally paying people to move there and the deadline is closer than you thought. Subscribe because remote work created opportunities to get paid to relocate to places you might actually want to live, and tracking these programs might be the most valuable financial planning you do this year. The truth is that these programs represent a fundamental shift in how communities compete for residents in the remote work era. 10 years ago, the idea of a town paying you to move there would have sounded absurd. Today, it is standard strategy for places facing demographic challenges. Towns like Tulsa, Rochester, and Marquette figured out that investing in remote workers is cheaper than watching their tax bases shrink and their downtowns empty. They are not being generous. They are being strategic. And that strategy creates genuine opportunities for people willing to move. But here is what matters most. These programs work best when you are genuinely open to change rather than just chasing money. The people who succeed in relocation programs are those who already felt somewhat disconnected from their current cities. Maybe the cost of living was crushing them. Maybe the weather was depressing. Maybe they wanted something different but needed permission or financial help to make the jump. The incentive money becomes the catalyst that transforms a vague desire into concrete action. Consider the life you're actually living right now. How much are you paying monthly for housing? How many hours are you spending in traffic or crowded transit? How often are you genuinely happy with your living situation versus just accepting it as normal? Now imagine cutting your housing costs in half, having access to water recreation, and receiving a check for $5,000 to $20,000 to make that happen. For many people, that is not a fantasy. That is an actual available option if they apply to these programs and take relocation seriously. The mental health benefits of relocation should not be underestimated. People who move to smaller towns with water access and lower cost of living frequently report reduced stress, better sleep, more time outdoors, and stronger sense of community. These are not trivial benefits. The isolation that worried you about small-town living often transforms into peaceful solitude once you're actually there. The slower pace that sounds boring in theory becomes genuinely restorative in practice. Your nervous system stops running in constant fight mode because there is nothing triggering constant stimulation. The financial compounding effect is real and powerful. If you relocate somewhere offering $10,000 up front and save $2,000 monthly through lower housing costs, that is $34,000 in the first year. Over 5 years, you're looking at over $150,000 in cumulative savings. That money builds wealth. That money funds future moves if you decide a year in that the location does not work. That money provides breathing room and reduces financial anxiety in ways that are hard to quantify but easy to feel. The career implications of relocating through these programs are interesting because you are not changing jobs. You are keeping the exact same remote position while reducing your expenses and accessing different communities. Your professional network expands to include other relocated remote workers. Your cost of living drops, which means you can potentially reduce hours or take on freelance work if you want. Your financial stress decreases, which often improves performance and professional satisfaction. The programs do not advance your career directly, but they create conditions where career growth becomes easier. Remote work itself is the prerequisite miracle that makes all of this possible. Without remote employment, none of these programs would exist. Geographic location would still determine your opportunities and income. You could not move to a small town and maintain a high salary. But remote work severed that connection. You can now be anywhere and earn accordingly. Towns figured this out and responded. The programs are essentially towns saying we understand remote work changed everything, and we want a piece of that economic activity. Take the incentive. Come live here. Keep your salary. Spend your money locally. Everybody wins. The people most likely to succeed with these programs are already somewhat entrepreneurial or adventurous. They have considered major life changes before. They are not bound to their current location by family obligations or deeply rooted social connections. They have confidence that they can build community in new places. They see relocation as an adventure rather than a loss. If that describes you even partially, these programs are literally designed for your situation. If you are deeply attached to your current city and view relocation as worst-case scenario, these programs are not for you, and that is fine. Different people need different things. The seasonal aspect of living in regions with extreme winters or summers is something to genuinely consider. Minnesota winters are not abstract inconvenience. They are 6 months of temperatures below freezing, days with minimal daylight, and weather that demands respect and preparation. Similarly, some southern locations have summers so brutal that outdoor activity is only possible before 9 in the morning or after 7 in the evening. If you are someone who thrives in moderate year-round weather, you need to be realistic about whether seasonal extremes will drive you crazy or become part of the appeal. The application strategy matters more than you might think. Successful applicants typically write thoughtful essays about why they specifically want to move to that specific place. And they demonstrate knowledge of the community beyond just the incentive money. They articulate how their skills or background could contribute to the local economy. They show genuine curiosity about the place rather than treating it as a transaction. Rejected applications often read like generic templates where the location is almost incidental. Spending real time on your application triples your chances of acceptance for competitive programs. The housing market dynamics in these towns are worth understanding. Places offering relocation incentives typically have low housing prices because demand is weak. That is good for buying power, but means property appreciation might be slow. If you purchase a house with incentive money as a down payment, you are betting on the town's future. If it continues declining, your real estate investment stagnates. If it stabilizes or grows through programs like these, you build wealth through appreciation. This is not guaranteed. It requires the town to actually succeed at attracting and retaining remote workers. The cultural differences between regions should not be glossed over. Moving from a major metropolitan area to a small town involves real cultural adjustment. The pace is slower, the dining options are more limited. The political environment might be different from what you are used to. The social dynamics are tighter and require genuine integration rather than anonymity. The entertainment is different, the humor might be different, the values expressed by the community might differ from what you expected. These are not bad things necessarily, but they require adjustment and genuine open-mindedness rather than just treating relocation as a financial transaction. One underrated benefit of these programs is the permission structure they provide. Many people want to make major life changes, but need external validation that the choice makes sense. A relocation program provides that validation. The town is saying, "We believe this move is valuable enough to pay for it." That official endorsement makes it psychologically easier to take the leap. Instead of justifying a massive life change to yourself and everyone around you, you can point to an actual program that other people have completed successfully. The program becomes both incentive and permission. The networking value of relocating through these programs cannot be overstated. You arrive in town alongside other remote workers who are also new and navigating the same adjustment. Instant friend groups form because everyone shares the experience of recent relocation. The programs often facilitate networking events and community meetups specifically for relocated workers. This is not the case with random relocation. When you move to a new city on your own, making friends requires significantly more effort. When you move through a program, friendship pathways are already built into the structure. The backup plan mentality is important. Nobody should relocate thinking they are permanently locked into a location. Most programs require 1-year commitment. After that year, you are free to leave if the situation does not work. Having that mental escape hatch makes the initial commitment much easier. You are not permanently losing your old life. You are temporarily trying a new one with financial incentives to make the experiment happen. That framing makes relocation feel less like a permanent high-stakes decision and more like a reasonable experiment with limited downside. If you are currently unhappy with your housing situation, your cost of living, or your geographical location, these programs are genuinely worth exploring seriously. Go to the websites, read the requirements, look at the towns on maps, watch videos of people who relocated through the programs. Imagine yourself there honestly. Could you handle the winters? Could you build community? Could you find joy in that specific place? If the answers are yes or maybe, submit an application. The worst case is rejection, which costs you nothing but application time. The best case is a new chapter in your life funded partially by people who genuinely want you to move to their town. That is a surprisingly good bet for a few hours of effort. So here is what you do right now. Write down which program actually appeals to you beyond just the money. Is it the Great Lakes Beach Access in Rochester? The Lake Superior Experience in Marquette? The lower cost of living in Kansas? The River Access in Natchez? Pick the one that genuinely sounds appealing when you imagine living there. Then visit the website tonight. Read the full requirements. Check the application deadline. If it is still open, give serious consideration to applying. You do not have to commit immediately, but at least explore the option seriously instead of casually dismissing it. These programs have real deadlines. The window closes. And you might regret not applying more than you would regret applying and getting rejected.